Hello and welcome back to the Indian Wisdom Podcast. I'm Dr. Raj, and you are looking for living wisdom, perhaps in the form of a story. If you like story, you like wisdom bombs, you're in the right place. Today's story has to do with the birth of a fascinating and multifaceted figure, often called Skanda. We say often called because he has many names: Subramanya, Murugan, Kārttikeya. This is the famous son that results in the union of Śiva and Parvati, in the union of divine masculine and divine feminine. There is extraordinary wisdom in this tale that has to do with tantric thought on the sacrality of communion between masculine and feminine, both with respect to the celestial cosmic level and also with respect to life on earth. Now, this strand of thought has been well appropriated, commodified, bastardized. You get the idea. But really, there are some profound teachings in Tantra proper for the awakening of spiritual power and spiritual awareness. Now, this is not a masterclass on Tantra, but I wish you set the stage so you can understand something of the sacrality of this union and what comes of it from this episode. So long ago, a great demon named Taraka was terrorizing the gods of heaven. What else is new, right? This is the Vedic layer of Indian myth, the ancient Indo-European motif of a thunderbolt-wielding deity atop a heavenly throne who's insecure because someone's always trying to steal that throne. Indra, of course, being cast out by various demons, and the motif goes that his power needs to be restored by a greater deity, one of the Puranic or great Hindu gods, Shiva, the goddess, Vishnu, etc., etc. So this demon Taraka is terrorizing Indra and the gods, and they're cast out of heaven. What does it mean for them to be cast out of heaven? Well, this is brilliantly metaphorical about the human condition, as far as I see it, anyhow. The question about the historical veracity of such stories is the wrong question. If we could be moved by modern myth making, a la Tolkien, profoundly moved by such myth making, the question of whether these events occurred on the earth plane or some celestial sphere or alternate universe, it's irrelevant. The question of the ways in which this narrative moves us, that which it teaches us, how it informs us about what it means to be human, what it tells us about self, about other, about life. This is the power of mythological narratives. And so you'll see parts of self dramatized under these various characters. Perhaps Indra is your ego self, looking to secure power. Yes? Anyhow, Indra and the gods are cast out, which represents a state of disorientation, a state of disempowerment. They've lost their sovereignty. Yes? And so they all hop into some sort of minivan, probably, and they drive over to Brahmaloka, to the Loka, the abode, the world, the realm of Brahma, the creator god, grandfather time, four-headed and bearded, sage-like and wise, but a little bit aloof in that, well, he's done. He's created. The universe has been created. So he retires quite early. And he has a long long retirement. But it's kind of pseudo-retirement because, he makes various appearances to grant boons because people do tapas, they do worship, they do penance, and then he has no choice because he's bound by the laws of karma, right? They've earned a blessing, and so a blessing must be given. And invariably, various Demonic forces will ask for immortality because, unlike the gods who have the elixir of life, the Amrita was procured by the churning of the ocean on behalf of the demons and the gods, but only the gods were able to partake, except the demon Rahu, but that's a different question. The demons in general are mortal and therefore vulnerable. And so they always try to find a loophole. They always worship Brahma along the lines of, hey, I want this boon. May I not be killed by day or night? Thinking, oh, it's not day, it's not night. I can't be killed by day. I can't be killed by night. I am de facto immortal. I might as well have had a drop of elixir myself, except there's always a loophole, a fail-safe against the demons having the upper hand, ultimately, which would create anarchy and chaos in the cosmos. And so someone will come along and kill him at twilight. Neither day nor night, you were killed at twilight. And so all of the gods of heaven in their little minivan approach this beautiful mansion belonging to Lord Brahma. And they're led in by the butler, and they're seen into his den. He's sort of hanging out. And I think he's sort of watching some Netflix specials on his iPad or something like that. He's really fascinated by these sort of creatives and creativity specials. And so he's doing his thing, and he greets Lord Indra, and Lord Indra greets him, and speaking on behalf of the entourage of gods. And Indra updates him on the situation that, hey, guess what, Grandpa? We've been cast out of heaven again. This time by Kārttikeya. You have to do something, Grandfather Brahma. Surely you must know how to stop him. Indeed I do, replied Lord Brahma, since it was none other than me who granted him invincibility. You what? Exclaimed Indra. You what? Why on earth would you grant a demon invincibility? It was you who made him so powerful. Why? Just tell me why. Well, it was me and it wasn't me. You see, we're all instruments. Will they teach you anything in school these days? There's some really cool online platforms like Yogic Studies and the Indian Wisdom School and the Oxford Center for Hindu Studies. You can go study with all kinds of people these days, you can learn about these things, very subtle concepts. It was me and it wasn't me. Let me explain. Do you think this universe of mind sustains itself through arbitrary randomness? No, it is governed by certain principles, by rules and laws. Just as gravity is an inviolable law in the physical world, so too is karma. The principle of karma, inviolable in the metaphysical realm. And karma is none other than action-reaction. As you act, so the residue of that action splashes back upon you. As you act, so you accrue either merit or demerit. As you sow, so shall you reap. This is the way of creation. Kārttikeya, unlike you, Indra, performed thousands of years of penance. And so he earned a boon. A boon was earned, and a boon must have been conferred. He earned it by virtue of this sacred karmic law. And as you all know, because you gods have the immortality and the demons do not, they always seek for it in a roundabout way, right? They always try to outsmart the cosmos, and of course they always fail. I can't give them immortality per se, but when I asked Kārttikeya what boon he wanted, he declared, I want to be invincible to all except for the child produced by Shiva's sacred seed. And so, tadastu, so be it. I declared, and by the power of my pronunciation, a boon was conferred upon his karmic field. I had no choice but to grant his boon. It was very clever, actually. Very, very clever boon indeed, I must say. I must give credit where credit is due. For the great yogi, the Adi yogi, the primordial yogi, never spills his sacred seed. The gods all gasp. Their predicament seemed all the worse. What? You seem to be like taking delight in this, Lord Brahma. Like, what are we supposed to do? delight. There's no delight. There's no non-delight. All is as it needs to be. You see, this is no time for philosophy. We need some practical strategy. So you want to go start running around without lighting a lantern? You need illumination before you disembark. Philosophy is the root of proper strategy. Have you learned nothing from the Indian Wisdom podcast, whose very first episode teaches you that Ganesha is Lord of Beginnings because he's Lord of Wisdom. And when wisdom is present at the outset, the endeavor is successful. Right? Okay, fine. So then what are we supposed to do? Well, is this thing on? Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. Only a child spawned by Shiva's seed can destroy Taraka. Isn't it obvious what must be done? How are we possibly going to spawn a child with Shiva's seed? Just devise a plan. Have you no creativity at all? Are you all black and white thinkers? Are you all hopeful accountants? Do you not understand the power of creativity to bring into existence what wasn't there before, but it was there in potentia? I should do a workshop for you gods on the power of creativity and how to think dynamically. Use your right brain every once in a while, kids. Find a creative solution. You're much more than mere puppets in this creation of mine. I've explained the principles at play, so go ahead and sort it out as you will. By the power of your will, Icha Shakti. Figure something out. No, please. All the best. Bye for now. Love you lots. Have to return to my Netflix series. It's a docu-series on creatives. And so, ciao for now. Okay. Send me an email or something when this whole mess is over and tell me how it got resolved. Okay. And so the comments all left the den of the Pitamaha, the great-grandfather, Brahma. And they all hopped in their minivan and sort of found a local cafe, and they all met, and they all sort of huddled over some chai, and they devised a plan. They collectively came up with a strategy. Although Shiva was a celibate ascetic, and they all understood the power of seminal retention and the sacred power, the spiritual power that is part and parcel of one seed. It is, after all, that which, when coupled with an ovum, literally calls forth life in this realm. So this is extraordinary. This is both terrestrial and celestial. A soul is part and parcel of the body, which is generated by the union of masculine and feminine in the physical sense. And so Shiva is more than just a mere mortal or a man. Shiva is emblematic of the divine masculine. And masculine and feminine are these two polarities, which operate in different ways, but are ultimately complementary. There's no shortage of tales in ancient India that entail a great deal of gender bending and shades of gray. There is the wisdom, even in Sanskrit grammar, to have a masculine case, a feminine case, feminine nouns, masculine nouns, and a neuter case, neither feminine nor masculine. Brilliant. But nevertheless, there is just as there's dawn and dusk, there is a fair bit of utility in terms of thinking of life as comprised of day and night. So shades of gray notwithstanding, the interplay between masculine and feminine is significant. Okay. Shiva understood the power of seminal retention. And so as a yogi, he was practicing brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is often translated as celibacy, although celibacy connotes in English not dating. I've been celibate for 3 years, bro. Wow. You've been holding your seat for no. I can't even go 3 days. You mean even single? Okay, perhaps a better word in English is chastity, right? The purification of one's libidinal urges. Um, Really, their sublimation in a sense, the sublimation of libidinal urges from more material to more spiritual processing, right? And so he was a great ascetic, a great yogi. And so he never spilled a seed. That was part of how he garnered his spiritual power. Okay. The gods were well aware of this. The gods were also well aware of the divine interplay, the circuitry between masculine and feminine. And they're well aware that the great goddess, the beautiful, lovely Parvati, the daughter of the mountains, mountain in Sanskrit is Parvataha, was truly in love with Shiva and wanted nothing more than to commune with Shiva. Now, although prima facie, these may appear to be the same act or configuration, there is a world of difference between communing for the sake of physicality and communing for the sake of spirituality. And as I surmise, there are a great many individuals who have yet to experience the latter, we'll put it that way. But there are people in the world and experiences which pull you more into materiality. And there are other people and other experiences which actually pull you more into spirituality. And the experience of love is profoundly spiritual insofar as it entails the suspension or sublimation or purification of ego. Oftentimes what we think of love is commingled with a great deal of egoism. It might be a great deal of attachment, possessiveness, envy, control, seduction, mind games, blah, 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 blah. When you truly love someone, their wellness and their welfare and their happiness trumps all else. When you truly love someone, you would be happy for them to be happy, even if that means that they didn't want to be with you. So there are experiences and there are people and their relationships which pull us more into our divine self, our Atman, if you will, the self. And there are people and there are experiences which further entrench us into ego. So it's not a question of what is being done. The question is, in what spirit is it being done? Of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna advocates the slaughter of kith and kin for the sake of a higher purpose to Arjuna, his beloved student and I suppose a cousin and friend, etc. They have a very complex and rich relationship because Krishna is on the one hand, their family, they're sort of aristocratic bros hanging out, doing their thing. They also love each other deeply. They have a deep and abiding friendship. And Arjuna, at this point in the Bhagavad Gita, is also now Krishna's disciple. So they have a very complex and rich and beautiful relationship. But what Krishna is trying to counsel is the performance of Arjuna's unsavory duty in a particular mindset. It's not whether or not you slaughter your foe. It is your mindset while doing so. This will decide papa or punya, meritorious or non-meritorious, karma or actions or fructification. And so the gods devised a plan to procure the seed of Shiva. And they leveraged Parvati's love and attraction to Shiva for this plan. So one day when Parvati was walking in the hillside, close to Shiva's abode, beautifully clad and scented, shining like the rising moon, the gods dispatched Kama, desire, the god of erotic desire. Think ancient Indian Cupid, bow and arrows and all. Kama aimed his amorous arrows at Shiva. Just at the moment that Parvati was walking by, Shiva's eyes fluttered open, and he desired nothing more than to commune with Parvati. He soon realized Kama's role in all of this. And what does he do? He opens up his third eye, his Agnya chakra, and with a blast of energy from his third eye, he singes Kama to ashes. Kama's desire. This is a profound mythologization of the extent to which the spiritual quest entails the management, transcendence, even destruction, erosion of desire, particularly carnal desire, which is, I would say, one of the two greatest impulses in all of material creation. The other being fear of death. So wanting to stay alive and wanting to pass on one's genetic material, these are the two wheels in the chariot of material creation. And we have millions of years of evolutionary biology behind us, propelling us towards impulses. And so what is prescribed by the ancients and modern seekers in terms of the sublimation or even transcendence of the libidinal urges is not natural. But do you want to be natural or supernatural? And so Shiva, in his supernatural state, was able to conquer desire, as mythologized by his singeing of Kama to ashes. But there's more to the tale than this, because there is a level of carnal desire which needs to be managed, and there is a level of sacred communion, which is not an interruption or a distraction in the spiritual quest, but with the right person can very much be a manifestation and an instrument of the spiritual quest. And so Shiva oscillates between eons in cosmic trance, experiencing the divine presence within, and eons of divine rapture in Parvati's loving embrace, experiencing the divine presence without. Although without here is challenging, because when two people love each other, they become one. It's paradoxical in that this second person becomes a gateway to your own soul. And so these two modes of the great erotic ascetic Shiva, of the mountainous, spiritual lone ranger, and this amorous lover of Parvati, it is not the case that one is an interruption of the other in terms of spiritual evolution. It is the case that one is an expression or means of the other. These are very tantric ideas, but they're also very accessible and very practical for those who've experienced loving relationships, which of course can be extraordinarily transformative, if not transcendental. Right? But, as the narrative, as the myth goes, in general, while they're in divine rapture in each other's arms, Shiva and Parvati, Shiva doesn't spill a seed because he maintains it to garner spiritual power rather than, use it simply for pleasure, physical pleasure. The other option is using it for procreation, right? And that's exactly what the gods had planned. Okay. So they dispatched the fire god Agni in the guise of a peacock to intervene in the celestial couple's amorous affair, their communion, the sacred communion. Agni perched on the branch of a tree just outside of Shiva and Parvati's home, awaiting the commencement of their divine union. At the height of their passion, he let out a sharp call while fanning his tail to majestic fullness. The distraction was so great that Shiva lost focus and climaxed. Agni swept down and scooped up Shiva's divine seed in his beak and carried it off. It was so powerful that it began to burn him. And this is the fire god, right? The idea that although it's moisture and you think of it as cool in a sense, the idea is that it's so laden with spiritual power, with Shakti or tapas. Yes, that it's burning to the touch of the fire god himself. Right? So what happens? It was too hot to handle. So down below, he dropped it into the mighty Ganges River to be carried off. Right? He dropped Shiva's seed into her rushing torrent. After some time, and this is all laden with profound imagery, right? Because what do we have? We have the water element, the feminine element, Mother Ganga, who is in a sense receiving a receptacle for Shiva's seed as well. There are a lot of individuals involved in this conception of Skanda. And that's why his symbology is quite rich. Okay. Anyhow, after some time, Shiva's seed proved even too hot for the mighty river. And her surface started to steam. So Ganga deposited it along her banks in a marshland safe from harm. As soon as Shiva's seed met the earth, a radiant child was spawned. Another beautiful image of Bhumi, the goddess or the sacred feminine as the earth, the sacred feminine as water, the sacred masculine as fire, the sacred masculine as Shiva. It's quite rich. I could spend 3 hours unpacking this myth, but I won't. I promise you. You have busy lives. But Kumara or Skanda is spawned. So Radiant was the son of Shiva. He caught the eye of the 6 goddesses of the constellation Kārttikeya. Kārttikeya is the zodiac. Kārttikeya is the first of the ancient Vedic lunar asterisms. Who then immediately, it's the Pleiades actually. So it's the Pleiades in modern parlance. Who then immediately descended to tend to his needs. They just so loved this child. They just wanted to nurture him. They were each eager to nurture him. He has 6 surrogate mothers wanting to nurture him. So he manifests 6 heads so that they may all nurse him at the same time. Nursed by the Kārttikeya goddesses, the son of Shiva was named Kārttikeya. Okay? Kārttikeya is a great name. One of the great names of Skanda or the son of Shiva. Okay. So nursed by all 6 of these surrogate mothers, he grew powerful and strong, and eventually was appointed commander of the celestial army, the army of the gods. The gods delighted as Kārttikeya mounted a campaign upon his vehicle, the peacock. Yes, to retake the throne of heaven and destroy the demonic Taraka. Okay? This is a beautiful and powerful homage to the union of sacred masculine and feminine, the sacrality and sublimation of seed, and also an homage to the complexity and beauty and dynamism of the spawn of Shiva and Shakti. I hope this has given you some food for thought in terms of these principles, in terms of alchemy, in terms of relationships, etc., etc., etc. I hope you've enjoyed this tale a fraction as much as its teller has enjoyed sharing it with you. And I hope that you remain well. Until next time, feel free to reach out if I may be of service to you in any way, rajbalkaran.com or indianwisdomschool.com. And keep listening and keep contemplating the power of living wisdom. Namaste.